Okay, Eze and Crystal Palace. Now, I'll just say a little story about this thumbnail of mine. I was meant to make this video a couple of weeks ago about Crystal Palace in particular, and I just happened to put Eze because he's kind of the best player in that team. The video's a little bit different. I'm not really talking about Palace. I'm now talking just mainly about Eze, but I liked the thumbnail, so I decided to just keep the thumbnail the same. And yeah, kind of lure you in a different way. So now I've just stuck Eze in the title. So, firstly, Palace have been very disappointing, right? But the main story, I think, is also Eze specifically. Particularly. Eze in particular has been extremely disappointing. Now, one of the main reasons for that is the way he finished off last year, which I'll mention in a little bit, stats and stuff. Not the boring ones, though, the important ones. That form got Eze into the England squad, and I think many people were really excited to see him in that team and playing for England. I would say many Premier League fans would label Eze as one of their favourite Premier League players because of his play style. It's as if we just got him from a cage in London playing footy, and that's how he kind of plays in the Premier League, which is rare. You know, the game is so systematic now that Eze is a little bit different to that. I also seen an interview about 4 years ago, maybe just before lockdown or maybe just after, about Eze, and he was just walking through kind of the streets of London talking about his upbringing. One of the best footballer interviews I've ever seen. I think it was on BT Sport. If I find that video, I'll try and link it in the description. The fact he's an England international is a huge compliment to how good he is, because that England team is so good now. You think of the players that he has to leave out, the manager, to get Ebere Eze into there. You know, he left out James Maddison, who was the best player in the Premier League for a third of last year. He left out players like Morgan Gibbs-White, another very talented footballer, and many others. It was kind of that stage in Eze's career where he got the moment, you know, finishing so strong. He got the England call-up, one game away from winning a Euros, and it was supposed to just keep going up, but it's kind of actually done this and gone down a little bit. But there's no doubt in the talent that Ebere Eze has, and there's an interesting thing actually with Palace, with the end of the season. So I got it on the screen here. So Eze and Crystal Palace, the form does correlate. So if we look at Crystal Palace from 2 seasons ago, the 22-23 season, Crystal Palace from the 1st of April to the 28th of May 2023, so that's about a month and 27 days. They played 10, won 5, drew 3 and lost 2, only losing 2 games in their last 10 games of the season, and winning 5, so 50%. Now for Crystal Palace, that's very good. In that time, in those 10 games, Ebere Eze had 6 goals, 1 assist. Then if we fast forward to the end of last year, the last 7 games of last season, so from the 14th of April to the 19th of May, Crystal Palace played 7. This is when Glasner came in. They played 7, won 6, drew 1, losing 0. In those last 7 games, Eze had 5 goals, 2 assists. So 7 goal contributions in the last 7 games. And I'm not sure what this correlation means. I guess it kind of means that if Eze's on form, Palace are good, or if Palace are thriving, then Eze thrives. You know, which way is it? I'm not sure. Probably a bit of both. One of the criticisms I've seen, he has 3 goals, 4 assists, by the way, this year so far, which isn't terrible at all, but the performances have been worrying. I think mainly the lack of finishing ability from him this year. His finishing has been atrocious. That's been a little bit of a problem in the past, but this year it's being highlighted even further. And when Palace lose games and your main man is getting chances and he's not taking them, then yeah, he deserves criticism. But I've seen one of the criticisms being that Palace have lost Elise, or one of the reasons, why Eze's not performing is because Elise's gone, right? But it's not that, because he didn't score that goal against Sheffield United where he runs the full length of the pitch, taking about 5 players on, slotting it bottom corner. He did that without Elise. His free kick goal versus Spurs last year, his one against Leeds a couple seasons ago, did that without Elise. He also did another great run against Sheffield United and scored without Elise. And I know this goal included Elise, but it was just a pass to Eze. Eze then takes a couple of players on and smashes it top corner towards the end of, was it last year or the season before? I think it was the season before. Amazing goal. So we've seen moments where his finishing can be incredible, but also terrible. So is Eze, the thing I'm trying to get to is how good is Ebere Eze? Basically, is Eze a purple patch player? I don't know. He might be, because this trend kind of does happen throughout his whole entire Palace career. The reason for this dip in form is, firstly, like I mentioned, he went to the Euros with England. He was on this extreme high. First tournament, and he nearly wins the Euros. You know, he was one win away from becoming an England legend forever. The first Euros winner for England. He was going to be a part of that squad. And to come so close, I think life must have happened. You know, life would seem like it's going very quickly at that point. And I think he's just being brought back to earth a little bit now. And I think that can get overwhelming. So that could be a reason. Another one, of course, Elise leaving. But I actually think Palace have gone very stale. This trend, like I said, correlates with Eze. Palace are an up and down team over the past few years. They had Roy Hodgson, terrible times. Patrick Vieira comes in, spike, that form loses. They lose the form then. Roy Hodgson comes back, huge spike. Again though, over a sustained period of time, they fall back down. They bring in Glasner, huge spike again. And now we're seeing that downtrend for Crystal Palace. So I think him being still being at Crystal Palace, watching Elise now go to Bayern, who are having a good season. They're top of the Bundesliga. I haven't looked at the Champions League table, but I believe they're probably top 8, top 5 maybe. They're doing really well. They're scoring a lot of goals. Elise being a big part of that. So I think in his mind, it's not that he's not finding motivation, I think, but in his mind, I think he knows that his journey with Palace is going a little bit stale and repetitive. And I think it's tougher to get incredible performances when your mindset is like that. I just want to highlight, I think Eze is one of the most talented players in the entire league, by the way. I even think he nearly scored goal of the season against Nottingham Forest. I mean, the guy just banged it from about 40 yards. And I can't think of the goalkeeper, Nottingham Forest goalkeeper. What's his name? Can't think of it. Just made a ridiculous save. So there's still obvious quality. I just think his mindset probably isn't in the right place at the moment. But I do think his form will pick up towards the end of the year, like it usually does. And if going by previous seasons, he should end the season on fire. Maybe prepared for a different move, I'm not sure. But what happens to Ebere Eze? You know, does he... I think it's gone stale at Palace. I don't like saying players should move on, but to me it does feel stale. The same patterns are just reoccurring over and over and over again. And I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for him to move, of course. And from this position, he's only going up. One club, for some reason, you know when you can see a player in a kit and you think that is right. Eze, Juventus. I don't know what it is, but I can just see that so perfectly. And I would love that move for him. So where do you think Eze could go? Should he stay at Palace? What do you think is the reason why his form is bad? Is his form bad because Crystal Palace are bad? Or are Crystal Palace bad because Eze's form is bad? Let me know. If you have any other comments you'd like to make them. I prefer comments over likes by far. But if you did like it, it would still be appreciated. And subscribe if you are new. And thank you very much for watching.